while we do our lesson today, it'd probably be pretty quick. I tried to make it kind of an easy back to school after the break lessons.
Promise over biggies.
Alright, so this whole chapter that we've started on, well, most of this chapter is going to be about making two-column proofs to prove something is congruent to something else. So we've kind of done this before, but today is like kind of when we get started.
Same.
So I'm going to look at triangles. Most of this chapter is just looking at triangles, and I want to know, are these congruent? These two triangles over here, yes or no? So if triangles are congruent, that means all three sides are
Same or parallel.
equal.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Or maybe a better way to phrase this, they're not all exactly the same, but they are all equal, like one from each triangle is equal. I think that's a better way to say it.
Yeah.
One. Yeah, I'm not sure how to phrase this. So they're all equal. So one on the left triangle is going to equal one on the right triangle for all sides. And I'm not really sure how to phrase that, so I'm not even going to try because I'm bad with words. But we'll do it.
I have bruise on my arm and it hurts really
Prove the
bad.
two triangles are congruent. Use a two-column proof.
So we're going to look at these two triangles here, and we're going to say, are they congruent, yes or no?
Yeah.
Yes.
Most of them will be congruent. I think they're all congruent today, actually, but we have to actually show it. So we're going to start off easy, then we'll get into two-column proofs. So let's look through here. So in order for these to be congruent, I have to match up every side on the left with one side on the right. So let's start with B
And
C.
C. C and
What is BC going to match up with?
CD.
CD, right? But be careful.
Or
BC matches up with DC.
British Columbia.
Because remember, we have to match up the same corners. So even though you're right, that is the right side, we gotta match up our corners. So these can be not really tough, just kind of annoying, making sure you match up the right ones. And we know these match up because BC is 4 and DC is 4. That's easy. Let's look at AC. What's AC gonna match up with?
EC.
EC. Yep, we got A and C match up, E and C match up. And we know because they're both 6. That part's easy. And then our last one, I have AB.
and DE.
You guys remember what this little line right here in AB means?
Equally parallel or something like that?
Congruent. So, because I have this one little line in AB, and I have one little line in ED, they are congruent, because that's what that line means, congruent. So, when we have congruent triangles, one thing to keep in mind is that if all three sides are the same, yes you do. If we have all three sides are the same, all three angles are also the same, which we will get into more later. Not so much today, but later. So A and E match up,
I make the life fun.
B and D match up, and then both halves of C match up. So keep that in mind for later. So this is actually basically what we're doing today, but what we are doing is, most of today are two-column proofs. We did these last chapter. They're not super fun, but they're going to be a little easier today, I think. So we're going to prove the two triangles are congruent, and we're going to use a two-column proof. So, in case you forgot, in case you
Gone.
Gone. forget,
Gone.
in case you don't remember,
Okay.
this first one right here is your statements. And then this one are your reasons. Or sometimes the book says justify. Sometimes if the book says you need to justify it, this is basically what it is. So I like the word reasons, your book likes justify.
Good.
The book sounds cooler, but mine's easier to understand. What? Alright, so let's go through, let's just pick a side. I'm going to look at my left triangle, and I'm going to see what it equals on this right triangle. So I'm just going to pick a side. I'm going to start with AE. If I have side AE, what's it going to be congruent to on my right triangle?
CD.
CD, right? It's got one little arc, or it's not right. One little line. So AE, and it would be DC are congruent to each other. So I'm going to go AE, side AE, or line AE, excuse me, segment AE, is congruent to segment DC. Remember, this little thing right here means congruent. The symbol with the squiggly means congruent. And then on my right side, I'm going to give my reasons. And this reason is really easy. This whole one is actually kind of cheesy.
It says given.
So it's given. because I'm given this little dashed line there. One dashed line, two dashed line. My reason is because it's given. They will be. This one's kind of cheesy. But. So AE is congruent to DC because it's given. Okay? That's my first one, but I gotta do it for all these sides. We're gonna learn more than just matching up 3 sides later, but for now, we'll keep it easy, just do 3 sides. So I'm gonna look at EB. What's EB gonna match up with?
DB. Wait.
CB.
CB. Why?
Given.
Given, because it's got 2 little dashes. All the 2 dashes match up. So EB is congruent to CB, and my reason is also because it's given. Like I said, this one's kind of cheesy, but they'll get more interesting after this. Less boring. You're not super tough yet, but we'll get there. And then the last one, AB is congruent to DB. My reason is still given. 3 little dashes, 3 little dashes. So AB is congruent to DB because it's given. And we've just shown that my left triangle is congruent to my right triangle, so I'm going to write that here at the bottom. So this is most of my work, but I have to actually say what I found. So I found that triangle ABE is congruent to triangle DBC. I gotta make sure I match up my corners. ABE is congruent to DBC. I do need this last piece just to finish it off. So even though this was most of my work, I need my last piece. And this little thing right here, I don't remember if I've talked about it before, but if it wasn't obvious, that little thing means triangle. So we read this like triangle ABE is congruent to triangle DBC.
It was too concrete. Here you go.
Thank you, man.
Pretty simple, I hope.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Alright, we're going to practice a few more of these.
Wait.
And then you guys are going to do 1 or 2 and that'll be it. Like I said, hopefully a nice easy intro. And if I go too fast, let me know, because there's kind of a lot to write.
Thank you.
We're sharing, so.
Alright, same type of thing. We're going to use a 2-column proof to show that triangle ABD is congruent to triangle CBD.
That's easy.
So let's just start with AB. We'll start with the easy one.
Well, A and
AB
D and D and C is given.
Is going to be D and I think it would actually be CD.
Yeah, CD. It's given.
AB is congruent to CD because it is given. That part's pretty easy. Let's look at the next parts, though. It's going to get a little more interesting. So AB is congruent to CD because it's given. Let's look at AD. What's AD going to be congruent to?
CB.
CB, yep. And my reason this time isn't quite given. Not quite. It's like, it's kind of given, but kind of not. Kind of. Watch it.
The
Okay.
same length.
AD, yeah, that's basically my reason. It's going to be congruent to CB. And my reason this time is because they have the same length. So I'm just going to go the same length. That is my reason for AD and CB. Because I got the same length. And then my last one is, this last part is kind of funny because it's really obvious, but people overlook it because it's so obvious. It's one of those things that's so easy it's hard. I have line, if I'm going to look at my left triangle, I have line BD, right?
Yeah.
What is it congruent to in the right triangle?
Wait, you said DB, right?
Or CD
I said
or
BD,
AB.
but same thing.
CD or AB.
Alright, if I have BD on my left triangle right here, what's it
DB.
congruent to on the right?
CD. CD.
BD. BD and BD are the same line, right? These triangles, left and right, don't they share the same line?
Yeah.
So it's going to be the same thing. BD is congruent to BD because they're the same line. They're exactly the same. They share a side. So of course they're going to be equal. They're the exact same thing. BD is congruent to BD because it's the same line. It's almost so obvious people overlook it, or they don't think about it. It's kind of weird. So BD is congruent to BD because it's the same line. And I am almost done. I just need to write my final little congruency statement. So that the thing with the triangle, where I said triangle, whatever it's congruent to, that's called a congruency statement, which I have a hard time saying, but it's not super hard to do, thankfully. So I just need to say that, and I'm going to do it up here because I'm out of space. I'm just going to go up here and do it. So I'm going to say triangle ABD is congruent to triangle, let me see, CDB. Right?
Yeah.
CDB.
Typo.
ABD, CDB.
Here.
Yeah.
ABD is congruent to triangle EDC. You mean ABC is congruent to EDC? On this, on the back.
Yeah, I probably messed up.
It's a typo.
We'll fix it.
Better.
It's the type.
Not good at typing either. Not good at talking, not good at typing, but I got my numbers down pretty good.
That's a math teacher.
So,
for
my
you.
congruency statement, ABD is congruent to CDB.
Don't die, Tyler.
You know, I'm trying not to.
That's
I
good.
want to live here for another 20 years at least.
Please not at this school.
He probably is gonna be at the school.
I can hear myself go here.
I'm a super.
Super.
Nice. Everybody got this down? Anybody still working on it?
Dude, I wish.
You got this down, Trista?
Dude, I'm already on the next
Oh,
one.
you're saying
Okay.
do it. Wish I
Second.
got down.
Yeah.
Remember, if I go too fast, just let me know.
Yeah,
All right. This is your first in-class problem. So, we're going to use a two-column proof. I want you to show that triangle, and this is, it should be triangle ABC right here.
See that typo.
Yeah. I changed the problem and I fixed this part, but I forgot that part. So I want you to show that triangle ABC is congruent to triangle EDC. And you're going to use a two-column proof. So put your statements, give your reasons. Some of these are given, some of them aren't. And you guys are going to help me out.
Yeah. First one's easy.
In class?
Yep, in class. So do it on your own. Check with your partner. As you do these, you could do them a couple different ways. You don't have to phrase them exactly the same either. Actually, this one, there's kind of only one way, I guess. But you don't have to phrase it the same. But you should have basically the same thing. This way, this chapter gets weird, because you can phrase it different.
For this one?
What do you think? But a little bit more than that, though, right? Because it doesn't quite show the same length, right? So how do you know?
This is 8. This is 4.
How is AC congruent to
So-
DC?
It would be. We're going to phrase it a little different, but you're right. You are right.
AB and ED is given. Because it shows AB and
Then these ones are the same length.
AC.
BC, no, this one's
So
this one would be 8 4.
So really all I had to do was that, and you're going to help me with this problem.
So it's just like this. And this is
I
probably
don't know why. I didn't want to do this.
just fix my
Thank
head.
you.
That's okay.
Oh, that's ABC.
You have to think outside the box when it comes to math.
Oh.
Too much luck.
That got me weirded out.
What, dude?
I thought it was ABD. I'm like, ABD isn't.
Oh, yeah, I almost forgot about that too.
EDC.
A. Triangle A.
Lots of good practice, though.
I skipped the lesson for because like
Angle
Yeah.
Congruent to
BC.
C.
I'll give you another minute or so. Now we'll start going over them.
Oh,
There's one in here we'll talk about a little bit.
okay.
DZ.
I'm really hungry. And tired. I don't really run around the bus.
How are you hungry?
no. Why is he gonna see you obsessed?
My friend got me so can
Your friend might be like,
All right, let's get going on some of
Why is he
these.
then?
Nobody's there.
That's good.
All right, Carissa, give me one of these. One of these sides. Doesn't matter which
Yeah,
one.
got me sick.
Sisterhood of AB.
Okay.
I'm supposed to ask
The
that.
Sisterhood of the Traveling
Yep.
Pants?
AB is congruent to what?
Dude, I wish I was in the system.
Be careful though. Does what does A match up with?
E.
E. So ED. Maybe you said it and I just didn't hear it. Possible. And what's your reason?
Giving.
All right, we got that one. Giving myself a little bit more space here. All right, let's look at our next one. Who's at that desk? Joseph, give me another one.
That's the shit.
I forgot this.
BC equals DC. Yep. And it'll be congruent to BC. And how do you know?
And I baked too many spicy chips.
Yep, because they have the same length.
Oh, damn.
All right, and then our last one, which I'm sure you all got the statement, but the reason was probably a little weird. So Trista, since I saw you do yours, so what's my last congruent part?
Same length.
I mean what equals what?
Oh. Okay. Line AC, our segment AC.
Yep.
Is congruent to segment EC.
Yep, you see. All right, and why are they the same length?
Why'd you give me back my pen?
Why are they the same length?
Because it says that equals 8, and that's 4. So the other side has to be 4.
Yeah. So when we look at this, the whole thing is 8, right? And we have 4 is AC. If the whole thing is 8, this piece is 4. This piece is also 4. But the way we're going to say this,
Rock, paper, scissors.
No.
because that's kind of hard to say, we're going to just do this. We're going to say, my reason is because C is the midpoint of AE. Because if C is in the middle, that piece and that piece are congruent to each other. So I'm going to say C is midpoint of AE. And that is my reason. So if you said same length, you're not wrong, but that's not the most correct way to say it. You need to say something like C is the midpoint of AC. Or if you could explain the whole thing is 8, AC is 4, so EC must be 4. That would also work, but saying it's the midpoint is easier. So good though. You guys are doing pretty good. Oh, and then we forgot our last piece.
Triangle ABC congruent to triangle CDE.
ABC close.
ECD.
There you go. So my last thing, I gotta say triangle ABC is congruent to triangle EDC. For my final congruency statement.
You're
Good. You guys doing pretty good.
Alright.
All right. I
Now it's the
think,
exit ticket.
that's it. Yeah.
Man, that ticket is so freaking annoying.
Yeah. Exit
Oh
ticket's
my
pretty easy.
god.
All right. So that's it. So do your exit ticket. You will type it into Socrative. And when you type it into Socrative, what you're gonna do is you're gonna type each statement. Like for answer 1, you're gonna type in whatever you get for like this whole piece. For answer 2, whatever you get for this whole piece. For answer 3, whatever you get for this whole piece. So it's not gonna say you're right or wrong. I'm gonna go through and check them later. So start by making your statement, and then go into Socrative and type them out.
They're all given, huh?
Not all of them.